People in Idaho have been concerned about an outbreak of the avian flu over the last year or so. You've seen egg prices continue to soar, and there has been, higher prices with chicken, and in some cases, even a shortage of chicken at the grocery store. Today, I'm talking with Christie Hammons. She is a state veterinarian with the Idaho Department of Agriculture. We're glad to be talking with her about this topic and see if there's any relief in sight anytime soon. So, Christie, thanks for taking a few minutes with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's first of all, just to remind people, last week there was a case of highly pathogenic avian influenza in Bingham County. And I don't know if that's the first case in eastern Idaho or not, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's the first case in all of Idaho's domestic birds for the year.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say this is the first case in domestic birds.
Yep. Last year there were some cases in eastern Idaho as well, more in the spring.
Over the last several months, we've reported on this topic, and this is obviously something that's affected birds nationwide. I mean, millions and millions of birds have been impacted by this, and it's led to the culling of the population in some areas. How many cases in Idaho right now?
In Idaho, we don't have any more currently.
But it means you know what the total
count has been, I think, 30 flocks.
30 flocks.
Since last spring was when this particular influenza strain kind of swept across the country.
Now, we've had an outbreak of the avian flu before. I believe it was 2015.
Yes, yep. I think
but it ended up being just like a few months.
Yes, yep. So this strain seems particularly efficient in being able to stay in the wild population and be transmitted to the domestic animals.
And why is that? Why is this strain particularly bad?
It's hard to say. I mean, there are a lot of different evolutionary components that viruses take up to be able to spread. I mean, just like anything, being able to be a more successful organism.
So with it showing up in eastern Idaho now and affecting domestic birds, I mean, obviously that's a concern. What kind of things should people be concerned about? What kind of biosecurity measures can they take? Those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. So some of the biggest risks are just exposure to wild birds in general, especially those wild waterfowl like ducks and geese. So free range is pretty risky. That's probably one of the riskier management practices for owning birds. So, I mean, definitely penning them, keeping them in more cooped area, at least having some overhead restriction so that there's no incoming organic matter from the wild birds. I mean, that definitely helps. And also personal hygiene, so washing hands before and after touching all the birds. Not going and seeing other people's birds. So if you've got a neighbor down the road, not handling their flock or not sharing tools with them, things like that. Keeping clean clothes or set of clothes that's specific for when you're working out there with them. Same with shoes, having either a dedicated pair or being able to clean them in between uses is going to be important too.
What are the symptoms and signs that farmers can look for in their bird populations?
Yeah, so generally for this strain, it's been very quick. It's been very quick death, almost immediate. Sometimes person will go out and then all of a sudden there's several birds deceased when they hadn't noticed anything. So it could mostly be that so far, and larger producers where they're really attentive to the amount of feed and water that's being intaken. They're noticing a drop, and that's probably one of the first signs that they're seeing on that large scale. The birds can be lethargic, more like hiding. They can have different colored changes in their wattles and legs, just kind of overall looking like they're doing pretty poorly.
What is your role in helping farmers across the state deal with this?
Yeah, so we're trying to get more a preventive start since we've been watching it over the winter. It's still been in wild birds throughout the winter, so we know it's been out there, never really left. But now that spring is coming, the weather's going to be warmer and allow it to survive in the environment a little bit longer for that transmission to occur. So we're just trying to get the word out, trying to focus more on education and outreach. This is such a bad virus that, we don't want to see anybody getting this in their flocks. It's quick, like I said. It can have up to 100% mortality in these flocks, and it's tough to watch them. It can be very, just very deadly, bad signs as far as, we don't want to see the animals suffer any more than the owners of the birds. So that's something also that we also have the role of responding to sick bird calls. So if people are concerned, we kind of assess the situation that they tell us about and determine whether or not we need to send somebody to take some samples. And then based on that, we have samples sent out to a national lab, and that just helps us confirm whether or not it's there. And then there's a couple options now, but we work with the producer to try to figure out what the best way is to stop the transmission from their flock to anywhere else.
That's good to know. I was actually, my next question was, and maybe you can address this more specifically, what is the specific testing method like with the eggs? Do you have anything with eggs that you test before they go out to the grocery store or before they're sold, and anything like that you look into?
Yeah, so with eggs, at least not in Idaho, we haven't been doing that. It is possible, I think, that you could probably do similar tests, kind of a swab sample, and do a PCR, which is just a detection of their RNA or their genetic components to see if it's present. With food like eggs and poultry meat products, it hasn't been so much a concern as long as people are cooking them appropriately to USDA recommended temperatures. It hasn't been considered a foodborne virus to people.
And maybe that's another question. I guess I forgot to ask that, is how does this virus spread?
Yeah, so primarily through fecal bird droppings. It can spread through mucus. So if they're grazing similar areas or just picking around the same areas, there's a lot of opportunity for the different fluids to interact with and expose the domestic birds. Sometimes droplets or aerosols if there's sneezing or coughing going on.
So this outbreak, people have noticed it when they go to the grocery store. Egg prices are higher, and it's affecting prices of chicken and things like that. Do you anticipate us getting through this soon? Or do you have any way of predicting that at all?
No way of predicting that. I think we're all kind of holding our breath. The people that are, researching the epidemiology or just the pattern of how the disease is spreading, I think, they're still trying to answer those questions too. We wish it would be as easy as just it goes away in a couple of months as it has in some years. But, there's definitely concerns because it has seemed to take hold in our wild bird populations.
We're based in Eastern Idaho, Idaho Falls, Pocatello area. Is there any areas of particular concern in this side of the state, or do you even have that specific of a breakdown?
We don't have that specific of a breakdown, but I'd really consider it being everywhere. Anywhere wild birds can go, it's a possibility that it's there. I think people are pretty lax about, when they hear about, oh, there's an outbreak in Bingham County. Well, we're all the way in Ada. It can't be over here. But that's definitely not true. As I've said, we noticed a lot of positive samples from wild birds throughout the winter, from all over Idaho. So like I said, yeah, it's there. They're carrying it. It can get into the environment. And as it warms up, it's going to be more more successful to be exposing all of our domestic flocks.
Yeah. Well, Christie, I appreciate your information and your time. Anything else that you want to add? Anything else you think people should know about this topic?
Yeah, I think that just, following good biosecurity practices is really important. I mean, that's something that, you could go online and do a Google search. We have a lot of different resources on our website. I mean, we, as an agency, as a group within the state, we want to do everything possible to help our producers be successful, to help keep birds healthy. So we're here to answer any questions too. And we love doing some outreach. So also for youth groups and things, if people want to work with us, we'd love to do that too.
How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way is our office phone number. So that's 208-332-8540.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Christie. I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.